ski towns?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My name's Mulcahy.
Hey,
I live here. Where are you from?
Salina.
Right on. Welcome.
Thanks.
I ran for Libertarian as your state senator, and I lost to Carrie Donovan.
Carrie's great.
Yeah,
I'm glad
she is.
she won.
She's a friend of mine. But this is GrassRoots here,
Hey,
Aspen, and I'm doing an art protest for the Tyranny, that we're dealing with here. You know, we got limousine liberals that are in control, and I just want peace and compromise, and we're not there yet. But that's what. Give you another one of these for your friends.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right. Yeah.
Appreciate
Good luck with that.
Thank you. My name is Mulcahy, and I am an Aspen artist. And one of my mentors is Ai Weiwei. And here is my art protest, and I am protesting the fascist tactics of the city of Aspen. And I have this art and these signs here, and the city manager came out, and she actually got here a couple years ago, but she said that she was going to remove all these signs, so I wanted to get it filmed while we could. I'm very grateful for many things, but mostly because I got a mom that's an 84-year-old pistol, and she told me, Lee, freedom is in peril. Defend it with all your might. And as an artist, this is what I can do here. And I'll show you over here. I had this painting I did of a gentleman that served our country. And a lot of people don't realize, but the ownership of Aspen Ski Co. is Lester Crown. He's a billionaire from Chicago, has a bunch of homes here, and he makes his money off weapons. So I think that's important to say. And right here we got our sheriff, Bob Broudus, and say hi to him if he's on the. He's talking to Dr. Wendy right now. And then here I have these other protest signs, and I think my mom always likes to point out to the city council and the board of county commissioners that the first hearing we ever had in 4 years, we couldn't talk about the due process violations on our eviction, but we could only talk about what receiver we wanted, and we just thought that was kind of emblematic perhaps of justice these days. And this is sign that says it is a New England state. They put this on their license plate, and I love it. It's live free or die. Fortunately, it got damaged in the wind. And then this is the I protest of the kangaroo court system, and that actually came up. My mom came up with that. And my mom will be in the comments that are going to follow here, and she addressed them. But we're Tea Party Republicans, and we're very grateful for this beautiful place. Gorgeous. My mom used to ski here. One time she walked down right there when she got down. God has blessed us, and we believe in freedom, and we believe that in the end we can sit down with the city of Aspen and compromise and negotiate. I'm an artist. I can show compliance. I have my records at home. I'm ready to bring them in anytime, but they refused to look at them back in 2015 when I got back from Kenya. They had asked for them a week earlier. They determined finally what they wanted, 8 different kinds of art records. I took them in, refused to look at them, and they said, you missed a deadline. The only problem with that logic, and that's what they argued in the courts, is you missed the deadline, it's over, too late, is that the deadline was premature and it was illegal. In other words, APSHA has rules, and they didn't follow them. They had to give me a 60-day cure period. It was in their guidelines, which they changed a month later for the first time in 7 years, and they removed that 60-day requirement, thinking we'd missed that. And we did. We missed it all the way after it went to the Colorado Supreme Court. We had a new attorney that found out not just that, but that they didn't give us a case management conference as required. The judge didn't do that here, and that's the kangaroo court. And justice for my 84-year-old mom, who's amazing. She's raising money now for 4 more water wells in Kenya for public schools. She's speaking, and she's an incredible inspiration for all of us, and you're going to see her next.
During that time period, we had already decided to make a humanitarian mission trip to Kenya. Lee was going to fill in for his dad, and even in the court records, it said that Lee had been on an Africa trip, like he had been off on a safari. It was humanitarian, and he was the one that laid the pipe, plumbed it, and added another water source from the original well to the village people. Now, there are dates that are important, and one of them being December 2nd, because that's when APSHA filed the lawsuit. December 3rd, as Lee pointed out, was significant because it was something that was just recently discovered. And when I found out exactly what it was, I want to tell you I was so angry because we have spent 3 years of anguish. A order was sent to Tom Smith, the APSHA attorney, and to Judge Chris Selden to have a conference. They required that to take place, and it was to be held with Lee so that they could look at 17 different issues and topics, one of them being mediation and hopefully a settlement. What did they do? They did nothing. They totally ignored it. And I want to read this part because it is surprising. The Colorado Rules of Civil Procedure 16b2 specifically obligated APSHA to set a conference within 42 days. So we've been through all this pain when something could have been done. That's unlawful. And instead of the conference, Judge Selden ordered an eviction and forced house sale, all without a hearing. And that is against our constitutional rights. I am asking the BOC to consider our case, and then, as Lee pointed out, to have an APSHA work session, include City Council, and then perhaps something can be settled. And on that work session, it needs to be noted that it was the Mulcahy eviction to be considered.
Okay,
My remarks Monday night, I have a couple of sentences. My remarks Monday night to City Council were this: is your badge of honor evicting Lee and an 83-year-old widow? Because that's not a badge of honor. That is a badge of shame. And let me paraphrase Edmund Burke's famous remark: all that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.
I'm grateful for many things. Last week, Mama Sandy was on National Talk Radio. And this last Wednesday, a couple days ago, NPR's 1A broadcast about APSHA all over the nation. And we're very grateful for the sunshine and transparency on this problem. One of the problems is that so much of what APSHA does is done behind closed doors on advice from their controversial attorney. It's done in secret executive session, but basically it's called railroading. There's nothing in the public record on the original vote to proceed legally. And if you take someone's house away, and when many of the people voting on that, it should be done in public, because those people that are voting on it are by definition conflicted. So I'm going to introduce this. This is 2 APSHA public comment sessions. This is a friend of mine that speaks first in both, Tom Coggins. He manages High Mountain Taxi. And he, a former board member on APSHA, they recently restructured the board, told him that the reason she voted the way she did was that APSHA told the board that artists, and specifically me, did not count for employment. So being an artist didn't count. Now here's Tom.
Tom Coggins, live in Aspen, 40-year Valley resident. Sent a email to several members, I guess Skippy, Rachel, George, Kelly, Mike Kudrowski, Bethany, and Cindy. I didn't have email addresses for Rick or Carson or John or David. But anyway, the gist of the letter was that I had where'd that come from? That I had a conversation with a former board member, and that member had mentioned to me that at some point they pretty much were told or got the opinion that a category of being an artist did not qualify for an employment category. And I checked into, I had told that person I wasn't sure that was correct. And I checked into the requirements in the guidelines, and it says 1,500 hours of work. Somewhere along the line, I ran into an IRS document which has a code for independent artists, writers, and performers, number 711510, and I thought, well, how could that be that somebody would discount an occupation of artist in some of your preliminary conversations? And I was concerned that somewhere along the line, a suggestion was made to lead this person to believe that was the attitude or the belief of the members of the board at the time. So what I would like to have entered into the record, the fact that at least one member, former member of the board, and I understand this is a newly formulated board, was swayed in her opinion that an artist did not qualify, and that is the claim that Mr. Mulcahy is making for his line of business. So kind of moving forward, I noticed the story about the retreat you all had in just a few days ago, and Mr. John Sarper mentioned the opportunity that you all had to pretty much start with a clean slate. Mike had made a comment that I believe it was something to the effect that the guidelines don't need to be tweaked, but they need to be seriously overhauled. And time's up? Yeah, okay. So my point is I got a response to my email from George, and he reiterated pretty much everything that was in the guidelines, which I researched pretty thoroughly prior to coming in here, because it's not my habit just to decide on something that's not true. And he included the fact, or somebody else in government has included the fact this has been through a whole legal process, et cetera, et cetera. But my point being that from the origin, where this former board member was under the impression that Mr. Mulcahy's occupation of an artist was not qualifying for him as in an employee housing unit, I just wanted to put that on the record that possibly other members need to be questioned about if that is in fact truth or not.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I don't know where somebody gets their perception on it. I don't think any of us do, but I know I'm sure we have several owners or residents in our housing that are artists and other entrepreneurs. So thank you for your comments.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Any other public comment? Mr. Mulcahy, please approach the bench, and even though we know who you are, please announce who you are.
My name is Lee Mulcahy, and it's such a blessing to have a beautiful family here and my neighbor. I'm very, very grateful for many things. I think many of you have read my letters to editor this week. I'm grateful to Judge Neely for ruling that this board violated our Bill of Rights, our most sacred right, the right to free speech. I am very disappointed that APSHA has rejected our settlement offer, which is dropping 3 words, and describing those 3 words are personal. I'm not sure there's anything more personal than evicting a family from their own home. The other free speech that was restricted was defiant, and I'm pretty sure Thomas Jefferson was considered defiant by the King of England. And the other word was loud. And I'm a Texan. I'm always described as being loud. But I would love to go through this real quickly. This is the guidelines from 2014, and you'll notice it says 60 days in here. So the first compliance letter, and the reason I'm bringing this up is, and you can see there is July 17th, 60 days from July 17th to September 15th. When did that notice of violation go out? August 25th. So, guys, the government has to follow their own rules. You guys can't be the lawbreakers. And let me give you an example here. I've given these to the 2 public officials, this is a transcript. It's your, actually Cindy did it. It's your, right here, I'll show it to the public here. And it's from August 1st, 2018. Unfortunately, the judge didn't have this. You're looking at something the judge didn't even have because APSHA didn't release it until after summary judgment was due. Mr. Mulcahy, yes, sir. Please remove your hat. Yes, Your Highness. The chairperson of APSHA said, I think that's an inappropriate comment, and I don't expect to hear that from you anymore during public comments. You also said, or I will ask you to leave. You said I couldn't criticize you 2 weeks ago. The chairperson of this board said, you can't criticize us. Mulcahy, that is not constitutional. And then I think you can read this right here. I've been to this board for years asking for a peaceful resolution to an eviction from a home that my family built ourselves. Now, I think people are now questioning this board because if you violate our most sacred...
Okay, that's 3 minutes, 30 seconds, wrap it up, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I want to submit, please, sir, 2 articles regarding your attorney's advice for the record. I know this won't be released to the public, but I guess if they ask, they will be released. George, I understand that you asked for police protection during public comment. Why is that?
Public comment. I'm not going to respond.
Okay. I want to tell you a wonderful story real quick. So my 84-year-old mom and I went down to Glenwood Springs, and we were setting up our, protest art signs and our paintings and whatnot. And within 5 minutes, a commissioner comes up and he says, he's a Libertarian Republican. He's actually the longest public official in Garfield County. He says, this is your First Amendment. This is your government. I am your servant. And you know what? I'm real grateful because that's what the sheriff says to me.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Thanks for the comment. We appreciate it.
And you know what? The police sees our signs here multiple times.
Okay, public comment. Do we have any other public comment? Perfect. With that, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. So I'll call the meeting to order. First item of business tonight is public comment. Do we have any public comment? Yes, sir. Please approach the dais, state your name again, and you've got
Tom Cobb,
3 minutes.
Quick question for John. 2 weeks ago, made a statement that 90% of the participants in the program supported the fraud, I guess it would be the fraud, abuse, and non-compliance issue with APSHA. I'm just wondering where you got that number from.
I think I said 90% of homeowners, and I would guess it's more, want us to enforce the rules.
Okay, well, I'm just, once again, I'm just wondering where you got that number from. A guess doesn't work.
That is my, my own hypothesis.
Okay, I don't think that's good. That's a good policy for a public agency to just throw out a number like that. And I checked on this survey here, and people who felt that that was an important item was only 44.91%.
Wasn't that
No,
a
that's
prioritize?
that was their
That was a
first
priority? That
That
was
was
a
the
first
first one?
choice?
choice. Yeah, that was their priority.
That was their
We
priority.
really shouldn't be debating here.
Okay.
'cause that could
No, it
go
wasn't a
on and on.
debate. I asked a question where he got the number
It's
from.
Public comment, you can make an
And
objection.
the gentleman said it was his personal opinion, and then I checked into the survey that was made, and yes, it was 5 selections, your 5 of your choices, and I looked, and each one of those other choices, they only have either or for one different situation, whereas the violations question included fraud, abuse, and noncompliance, and I think those are 3 separate things, and they should have been treated differently. Fraud's very serious. Obviously, it's probably a criminal offense. Abuse is, hey, you're playing your radio too loud at night, and noncompliance is, hey, did you miss a deadline? So I think you go from a criminal situation through just a phone call and, hey, stop playing your music so loud. And I think that was a misleading statistic in there. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else for public comment tonight? Lee, step up, say your name for the record, and you got 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Lee Mulcahy, and I guess some of you saw this article here. And I went around my neighborhood right after, I think you know that, you're my neighbor, and I apologize for any fear that caused. And unfortunately, it's also from the paper, the Aspen Times. It's a corporate paper based out of, I believe, Reno, Nevada, that has never covered the constitutional violations of free speech by this board. And I think that's unfortunate, but I think it probably goes to the state of our country and the fake news that is abounding right now. Salt Lake City journalist, my mom, I'm very grateful, was on National Talk Radio. And he stated, "The political machine in Aspen has control. It relishes that control and is doing everything to consolidate and maintain that power." There's a lesson here for all of us. We have to be vigilant. If it can be done to someone else, it can be done to you. My mom yesterday said, "Lee, remember, freedom is in peril. Defend it with all your might." And the other thing I think all of you will love and I think you will support is keep calm and carry on. History shows that if you resist the state, the government will ramp up the force until you have complied or submitted or are dead. Skippy, I'm very grateful that you were elected. I think your story is amazing. And I think your persistence is not unlike mine. But can I ask your attorney a question?
No. I'm not answering any questions. This
Yeah,
is public
comment, Lee.
Oh, okay. Well, he rejected the settlement to remove 3 words from your public comment policy, which is posted on the agenda today: defiant, personal, and loud. And I think you know I'm loud. What do you think about removing that as a compromise rather than go to the Court of Appeals and then Supreme Court of Colorado? Rather than wasting, actually, would the executive director here, do you know how much you have spent on the free speech suit?
Well, this is public comment.
Public comment,
Go
Lee.
ahead and make your
But
comments.
Yes, sir.
I heard your suggestion, and
not
we've previously
question and
talked
answer.
about reviewing that over time, so we'll see
Fantastic.
how it goes.
Fantastic. Do you have a timetable?
I heard your suggestion. I appreciate
Okay.
it.
And I'm super grateful to Judge Neely. He is the Assistant County's Attorney Uncle. I realize that some of you are not from the West, and you didn't grow up with the Western notions of freedom or our distrust of liberty, our natural distrust of government. This government has violated our constitutional rights to due process egregiously, John. In our case, there was dishonesty, corruption, and the law was broken multiple times. The government has to follow its own rules. You, APSHA, can't be the lawbreaker. The evidence is damning. I'm asking simply to get 15 minutes on your agenda to show you the evidence, because we can't expect Denver or Washington, D.C. to solve our problems.
Lee, that's enough. Your 3 minutes are up. Thank you for your comment. We'll take them into advisement, and we'll have a discussion amongst ourselves.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the time. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Lee.
What's this about? Well, history shows that tyranny creeps up. It's government out of control. If we had to sum it up in one word, it's worse. It's tribalism. We're very, very grateful. We appreciate the love and support from this wonderful community. And we collected 2,000 signatures in front of City Hall, the courthouse, over 2,000, and the city market. We never got a public hearing, until recently, when the judge, who was a former local politician, decided to appoint a receiver. And that is unfortunate, because we want to talk about the constitutional due process violations that were created this whole problem, and went back to the very beginning by APSHA, but not just APSHA, by Judge Selden, who, interestingly enough, admitted in court that he was a member of the Lester Crown Society of Fellows at the Aspen Institute, which the minimum donation is $2,500, which over a decade, that is a significant investment. What does this really mean? It means that this whole saga erodes the faith of American citizens in the even-handed administration of law. It shakes the confidence of the people in our local judicial system. It shakes the confidence of people in a system where local politicians move on to become judges, who then violate our constitutional right to appropriate due process for political reasons. When it's on appeal, it just seems that the judges, when they investigate other judges, it's just like the police when they investigate themselves. Nothing ever happens. But we're very hopeful, and we believe in our Lord, and we ask for your prayers. Here are some public comments that we did in front of City Council and the Board of County Commissioners.
Thanks for joining us here in the room in City Council chambers, as well as on GrassRoots. This is the regular meeting of September 23rd. And before I call it to order, I just want to say I hope everybody had a wonderful day today and a wonderful weekend. The weather is absolutely fantastic. Favorite time of the year. And with that, can we call to order and have a roll call, please?
Richards.
Here.
Hallenstein.
Present.
Mullins.
Here.
Mazzaro.
Present.
Torrey.
I'm here. We have no scheduled public appearances this evening, so we'll start with citizens' comments and petitions. 3 minutes on items that are not on our agenda. Are there any members of the public that wish to comment this evening? Come on forward. Please come forward.
So,
Thank you.
my name is Lee Mulcahy, and I do want to second everything the Second Amendment people said. We're very blessed, Torrey, to have you as mayor. And I'm super grateful for many things. I'm grateful to have a pistol for a mom that's 84. And I don't know, Mr. True, Mr. City Attorney, are you aware that APSHA lost regarding?
I was not aware that this was an interrogation of me at this public hearing. I am aware of the court
this is really big, guys, because two of you serve on APSHA, and I just got this. The judge ruled APSHA's rules of decorum as applied to Mulcahy are not viewpoint neutral, nor are they constitutional. I think this is what happens when you hire, just to be frank, and take it with a grain of salt, but a bulldog from the big city of Denver to take over your housing program that controls already 3,000 units in a town of 6,788. That power is immense because some units are 3 and 4 bedrooms, like my home. It's also what you get when you have a private attorney, Mr. Smith, who excessively litigates. He just bought a new castle. But this is what the court said. Here, while the rules are facially constitutional, the court finds that the manner in which they are applied to Mulcahy is not. Mulcahy asked whether he could talk about the board's attorney. The chairperson responded, no, police officer, I would like this gentleman to be escorted from the room. Thank you. Mulcahy was then escorted from the meeting by a police officer. Mulcahy never actually said anything that was offensive or disruptive. He simply asked a question about what he could discuss and was removed for asking that question. Similarly, at a July 18th meeting, Mulcahy again stated that he wanted to talk about the board's attorney. At that point, the board chairperson stated, no, you cannot. Part of the rules of decorum is that you will not criticize. Finally, on December 5th, 2018, Mulcahy was told that he was not, and in quote, not allowed to criticize an individual, staff, or member of the board, that he violated the rules of decorum by doing so, and that, in quote, I'm asking you to leave. This is from Rick Head, your current board member. You have had your say. You're done. Thank you very much. Again, this is from the judge. Mulcahy's not Selden, of course. Again, Mulcahy's comments may have been annoying to the board members, but his remarks were not intimidating, profane, threatening violence, or an expression about politics. His remarks were all made within his allotted time. The judge writes, but unlike Der Fuhrer, government officials in America occasionally must tolerate offensive or irritating speech. The court finds the rules are unconstitutional as applied to Mulcahy. So, this Second Amendment is really on topic because I go to a men's Bible study, and this came up, and someone pointed out that the first thing that the Nazis did, the fascists did, was remove the guns from the population. I'm going to say that one more time. The first thing that the fascists did was remove the guns from the population. What happened after that? We had a Holocaust. 6 million people died because they couldn't defend themselves. Right. So we're going to present, and I want to say, you're getting very controversial advice from your private attorney and this gentleman over here. When a court says that your baby, APSHA, is violating the Constitution, we got problems in Aspen. And we're going to present a settlement to the BOCC on Wednesday and to the judge on Thursday, and I hope that the way forward, guys, can be compromise, it can be peace. I love you. Ward, I've known you forever. You helped us with Africa water wells. But this has gone on too long, and I'm sorry. But this government has egregiously violated our constitutional right to due process, and we're not giving up.
Yes.
Thanks, Lee.
I did provide that order to the council last week.
Yeah. Thank you. Other members of the public that wish to comment tonight? Sandy?
Hi, I'm Sandy Mulcahy, and I don't know how many times I've been here to speak, lots, but I have said over and over again the difficulties that have gone on with APSHA. And as Lee pointed out, it began back in 2015 when they took a notice of violation and they sent it out prematurely, which changed the date on which everything has been based. We didn't find out that until we hired a new attorney this past year. So at the time, that was unknown to us. But APSHA has committed some just unbelievable violations. And all of that, I'm sure, has been in the newspaper any number of times. And so I say to you, City Council, they're yours. I know it's a different department and all of that, and 2 of you are on the APSHA board, but you need to look at what they've done to us, because it is absolutely wrong. And, you know, I do maintain that I'm a Christian and that I try to do what is right. But when I look at what they've done, I'm appalled, absolutely appalled. It's wrong.
Thank you, Sandy.
I'd like to remind this board that we brought over 2,000 signatures of your fellow citizens asking for a public hearing. Notably, the city of Aspen to refuse to put it in their record despite multiple requests. And I will get on my knees and I will plead with you, board, please give us a work session so that we can present this evidence that is damning to our system.
Please give your name for the record.
My name is Lee Mulcahy, and Patty, I hope you guys, Steve, Greg, you had a great holiday. The reason I'm here, I just want to touch on a few things, is I do need 3 votes across the aisle on a resolution for a public hearing. To that end, we did bring in 2,000 signatures to this board, and Jeanette was kind enough to put those in the public record, and thank you so much. I have a great sense of humor, so I try never to fail to point out that the city of Aspen, despite multiple requests, refused to put that in their public record, those 2,000 signatures from citizens asking for a public hearing. I'm super grateful. I'm grateful to God, my family, and this community. And, you know, before I came in here today, you know, I touched base with our senior elder of my church and another elder, and I said, guys, what are your thoughts? Because, you know, they read the article from him yesterday, and they said, don't give up. And it's just, of course I wouldn't, I'm from Texas, but you know, it's good to hear that from longtime community members. You know, I want to reiterate that I do think that the APSHA attorney is a problem. He's resistant to any kind of settlement. He presents roadblocks, you know, the entire way. And unfortunate, you know, it's, to be frank, it's to pad his back pocket. And he has a history of doing this. He did it with when a citizen in Basalt asked for the text messages between the mayor and the city clerk the 20 days before the election that were deleted. He sued that citizen and charged $12,000. I can go on and on and on, but a recent example, and she was here in public comment, was Amanda Tucker. She had a rental unit less than $1,000 a month, and yet the lease was going to expire anyway, and yet he decided to sue him. And so far, just so far, and this is like, you know, several months ago, he had racked up $22,000 for suing to evict a woman and her son from her unit. You know, I just think that sometimes his advice is not productive for our community. It divides the community. I want to be honest. You know, this is my pocket constitution, and we feel that our constitutional rights have been violated by APSHA. And the Fifth Amendment says, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Citizens, you are our elected officials. I have been here time and time again. I won't, you know, I'll briefly stand up. July 17th, their rules, APSHA rules, first compliance letter went out. By their own rules, they couldn't send a notice of violation until 60 days had gone by, September 15th, right? Now, they jumped the gun. They sent it out August 25th. Why is this important? It's because the whole order of the forced sale of the house is based on this illegal, premature NOV. Now, the reason I give you this is APSHA hadn't decided what they counted, and you have the email, it's in your record, on what counted as an artist until October 14th. When I took the records in, citizens, they refused to look at them. All I'm asking is for a public hearing. I can show compliance per the law. The email says, it's from Julie Kiefer, I wanted to follow up on our conversation relating to the employment requirement of 1,500 hours per year. Blah, 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 blah. Some things you could provide include records of sales of your artwork, records of showings in galleries and museums. You know, citizens, I've shown in the Nairobi National, which is East Africa's most prominent art gallery. I've shown in Berlin, KW, Contemporary Art, which is Berlin, one of Berlin's, main museums, and I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful, but I have to point out we're at a very, very critical time in our country, and you Democrats and me, a family of Republicans, can come together and show the way forward, that there is compromise possible, and we have a Constitution. I will follow the law. If I need to go to jail for 6 months, if that's what we're not selling, okay? We're drawing the line in the sand, and I will follow the law. If you want political prisoners in Aspen, Colorado, in 2019, well, I'm real sorry, but we feel that our constitutional rights to due process have been violated by this government, and I'm so grateful to my mom because she's got a backbone of steel. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I'm sorry if I went over.
Thanks, Lee.
Thanks you very much, Lee. Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak on items not on today's agenda?
We're not going to do question and answer, sorry.
I'm also grateful. I sold 2 paintings recently that cost more than my college, and I'm very grateful to have studied at the Sorbonne in Paris. So at the APSHA meeting, I did have GrassRoots come in and tape it. And there was a gentleman, Tom Coggins, I don't know if you remember, he came in and explained that he was told by an APSHA board member that the reason that you are suing to evict my family from the home that we built is because an artist did not count for APSHA employment under their guidelines. And that's a very serious accusation. And I was wondering if either of you have asked the board to investigate that?
Again, not question and answer.
We're not doing Q&A, sorry.
Then I would encourage before. I mean, it's getting really serious, guys. We're looking down the barrel at a possibly political prisoners here in Aspen for a family that will not refuses to sell the home that they built, and I think we have very. It's because our constitutional rights to due process, to appropriate due process, were egregiously violated by APSHA, and not just by APSHA, by the former assistant county attorney here, Chris Selvin, who is now the judge. And I won't go into it, I don't have time, but I would love to get 15 minutes on your schedule to come in and we'll show you. I know all of you love my mom. I know that, well, maybe not. But I know that it's not right for an 84-year-old who is raising money for 4 more water wells in Kenya at public schools to lay awake at night and have nightmares. It's not right. We're a community. I love you. It's just we need to get beyond this. We need to move on. It's a new board. It's a new time. We can compromise. We can look at these facts that are devastating to you if they come out ever. I just want to sum up real quickly. If you railroad us out of our home, we've got books coming out. We've got GrassRoots. Apparently, they lost one of the sessions my mom and I did as an interview. This is all going to be looked at. You can't run from the truth, Greg. And I beg you, I will get on my knees and I will say, Mr. Postman, Mr. Newman, we have 2 votes to look at this on this board. We need a 3rd. I'm praying that we will look at this before you got 2 dead Mulcahys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you for the time. I'm sorry if I ran over.
Do we have any other public comment? Seeing none, I will close the public comment.
I'm going to look at you because you're just so wonderful. I appreciate it. My name is Lee Mulcahy. And well, you cut me off at 3 minutes, but I would love to get to this. It's Edward Snowden's new book. George, we're headed for the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court regarding the free speech, the comment policy on APSHA. Skippy is open to dropping, from my understanding, I think you heard, for dropping 3 words, and it describes language as defiant, loud, and personal. Is that something we could compromise on?
We're not doing Q&A here today, so just want to hear your statement, if that's all right.
Okay. Well, he doesn't communicate. I try to email him, and I don't get any response. We're very, very grateful for many things, for the love and support of our community right there in Burlingame Ranch. I'm super grateful. The hugs, and the support, and the love that I got from the other day when I went around was really, really heartwarming. My mom wanted me to address this because this was on the front page of the paper the other day, and it states, we're dealing with fake news in our country. It says the matter is far beyond the local level since the case has been decided in 3 different courts. Even though that we explained to the Times that due process violations by their very definition, which were discovered after it went to the Colorado Supreme Court, are appealable at any time. And that's why we are in appeal in the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court of Colorado, and we'll keep appealing. And I just think that this is tearing our community apart, and I think it's something that we can solve with a peace and compromise and negotiation. I think it's very important that I point out that the Aspen Times, even though they cover a sensational story like this and scare our community, that they have refused to cover the constitutional violations regarding free speech by the APSHA board. And I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful to the Assistant County Attorney's uncle, Judge Neely, for having the courage to bring that out. And I'm also very grateful it was on NPR today. My mom was on National Talk Radio last week, so we have both ends of the spectrum looking at this controversy here. And I want to end, if I'm at my 3 minutes, with what Salt Lake City journalist Brian Hyde stated. The political machine in Aspen has control. It relishes that control and is doing everything to maintain and consolidate that power. There's a lesson there for all of us. If it can be done to someone else, it can be done to you. Sadly, Judge Chris Selden is part of this machine. Bert Myron always advised me to tell our story, and I'm so lucky to have an 84-year-old mom that's a pistol, and she tells me, I'm so grateful, Lee, freedom is in peril. Defend it with all your might. I'm sorry if I ran over. I'm very grateful to your love. Steve, thank you so much.
Thanks, Lee.